Support for this show and the following message come from Trevitt Hill. Overseeing a cannabis investment can be time-consuming and expensive. Trevitt Hill provides cannabis investors with an external turnaround team to help management reignite growth. For a free confidential review, go to trevitthill.com.
There's a lot of consolidation happening, and we ourselves have entered into a consolidation deal. Yeah, we are entering into a 4-way merger that will allow us to be listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange. So we are going public. Yes, we are taking the company public.
From Bumminett Media, it's the MJBulls podcast, a show about raising cannabis capital. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, how Baker Technologies and 3 other companies are joining forces and going public. Hey, Roger.
Hey, Dan.
So we're here with Roger Obando at the Cannabis World Congress and Business Exposition, and Roger is one of the founding partners from Baker Technologies, which is, like I said, one of the rising stars in the cannabis industry. Their company, well, most people know of it already, but I'm going to let Roger tell you the story. Started from pretty humble beginnings. They identified a need, and they went from there. So Roger, maybe jump right in and tell us what the void was that you guys saw.
Sure, absolutely. This is back in 2014. What we identified was that in these legal markets, there was an overabundance of demand and a lack of supply. And so we looked at that problem, did a little research, found out about 80% of the revenue comes from a 20% subset of the consumer base.
Right.
And so we took a look at these lines and realized that 2 out of 10 people in that line was probably sitting there with a few $100s in their pocket, waiting to buy an ounce of product. And they're being forced to wait in line behind a ton of tourists that are going to take an hour smelling jars of marijuana to walk out of there buying maybe a joint. So we re-identified that.
So
that
your
was
best customers are trapped in these long lines.
Yep.
And they're just frustrated.
Yeah. So we were all very familiar with Grubhub. And Grubhub is a system, for those who aren't familiar, that allows you to order food from local restaurants. And most crucially to what we were doing, doesn't actually process a transaction. And that was something that was really important for us at the time, because obviously it was federally illegal, right? We're in cannabis.
Yeah.
But what we decided to do was build an online ordering and reservation tool. When it came time to decide what technology we were going to use to build our platform, we decided to do it web-based. That allowed us to build a single code base that would work on any platform, Android, iPhone, whatever. And more importantly, we wouldn't have to deal with fighting the Apple Store to let us put our app onto the store. So this is a decision that was made for very practical reasons. One problem that came out of that was the really nice benefit that you get when you do native applications is you get push notifications. So we weren't able to do that because of the fact that we didn't do a native application. So we built a 2-way SMS communication system. Once our customers realized that we could send SMSs, once they put 2 and 2 together and said, you're sending SMSs about this, could we send SMSs to our customers? And so we built our targeted marketing tool set, and we leverage all the data that we have from the online ordering, from the visit frequency, from the spend, all of that. And not just at your store, but this person exists in our ecosystem throughout other stores.
Okay.
So we are able to gather information even if they haven't shopped at your store that often. We're able to tell you this person buys flour, this person buys concentrate. Yeah. And that way you can be very effective with your marketing.
That is great. That's just good stuff. So along the path here, you stopped bootstrapping it. And at some point, you had to start taking some money from outside.
Yeah.
Can you give us a breakdown of where you are with that?
Sure. No, absolutely. To date, we've raised in a neighborhood of $11.5 million, which is,
great.
Yeah, it puts us pretty high up there as far as well-funded cannabis companies. I give my co-founder and partner, Joel Milton, all the credit. He works tirelessly to go and find investors and make these deals happen.
But it's partly because you guys have a really, really good product.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You found yourself in a place where it's not crowded.
Right. And not only that, from the investor community perspective, our offering was very attractive because it's not plant touching.
Yes.
It's totally and completely ancillary. Yeah. We sell software. We don't take any royalties off any sales. We don't do any. We sell software as a service, and that is it.
So you're a true picks and shovel company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so true. investors love tech, and they're super excited about cannabis, but not all of them want to touch the plant. So
Exactly right.
You're hitting in both places.
Yeah. So, all things came together, and we've been very fortunate. Also, I was mentioning earlier to you, we were fortunate enough to get invited to join batch 14 of 500 Startups, which is an accelerator program in San Francisco. For those of us who don't know what an accelerator is, basically they invest some money in you, but more importantly, they mentor. It provides a certain amount of confidence in the investment world to say, okay, well, they've already been vetted by a very exclusive accelerator, and they got in there.
And then you have the Alumni Association.
Exactly.
That's got to be invaluable.
Companies as large as Twilio came out of 500 Startups.
Yeah, and you just pick up the phone and say, hey, can we talk? I have a question about this.
Exactly right.
Oh my gosh, it's got to be just like
that's
so good.
Well, we managed to raise $1.6 million coming out of 500 Startups, and then we closed another 1.7 another 6 to 8 months later.
Holy cow.
That became our seed round. And then at the end of last year, we closed an $8 million A round, and it's gotten us to this point. But you know as well as anybody, the startup game is profitability or growth, right?
Yeah, but you got to, like you mentioned this before, it's a land grab right now in the cannabis industry, and you guys are off to the races. And which kind of brings me to my next point. I think you said before that you have a pretty large market share, but you don't have it all.
Right.
So right now you're at how big on a market?
We're about somewhere around 33 to 35% of the entire legal market.
Which is huge.
One out of every 3 stores has Baker.
Moving forward, what's the next plan? What's the next step for Baker?
There's a lot of consolidation happening, and we ourselves have entered into a consolidation deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are entering into a 4-way merger that will allow us to be listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange. So we are going public.
Nice.
Yes, we are taking the company public right now.
That is so cool. Can you talk about what the other companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Baker, obviously, you guys know what we do. Our LP in Canada, which is a company that we will be able to do an RTO on and actually go public with. It's a cultivator, right? Obviously, a licensed producer in Canada. And then we have Sea Hunter out of Boston, and Sea Hunter does a lot of license acquisition and development. So they will acquire licenses and basically act as a PE firm and invest and get them all the services they need to get up and running off the ground.
Yeah.
And then the last entity that we included is a company called Brightside out of Bend, Oregon. And Brightside does infrastructure for cultivation. So modular grow units.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners right now are saying, wow, this is one of those early ones that I'd like to get in early on. This is going to happen in 2018?
Yes, we should be listed under tilts on the Canadian Securities Exchange before the end of the year.
Okay.
Hopefully much sooner than the end of the year, but we'll see. You know how these things go.
Yeah, and so people will be able to buy it on the Canadian Stock Exchange under tilt.
So yeah, that'll be going up before the end of the year. We're actually raising a private placement round now as well for anyone who's looking to get involved with that. That's an opportunity still.
Okay. And if they wanted to, your website is www.trybaker.com. We'll have a lot of this information on the MJBulls website at mjbulls.com. But if somebody were interested in getting more information,
you can reach out to me directly. I hope I don't regret saying that.
Yes. Well, hopefully you do.
Hopefully I do. Hopefully there's a lot of interest. Roger at trybaker.com. ROGER. It's one of the benefits of being a founder. You always get that first name, Matt. I'm happy to pass that along to our finance team and the appropriate parties if anyone's interested in being a part of that.
So it's at Roger at trybaker.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. Roger, this has been really informative, and I got a feeling that a lot of people are looking for something like this, an opportunity like this to invest, because let's face it, this is the right time to buy in, to get into this industry, and a company like yours that, this is a really exciting deal that you're about to venture into. Going public. Good for you.
Going public. I know.
Congratulations.
It's exciting. I can check that one off the bucket list now.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me, Dave.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the MJBulls podcast. To learn more about today's guest or to apply to be a guest, visit our website at MJBulls.com. And if you like our show, give us a review on iTunes. Today's show was produced by Bumminit Media. I'm Dan Humiston, and you've been listening to the MJBulls podcast.